Hello and welcome to your next APES Screencast. Today we'll start Chapter 16 and cover Sections 16.1 and 16.2. Chapter 16 looks at energy efficiency and renewable forms of energy. The chapter begins with a case study that looks at the potential of wind power in the United States. Wind power is created by wind farms that convert wind into electrical energy. Wind turns a wind turbine, which in turn generates electricity. Wind is an inexhaustible resource that will never run out and can provide power sustainably and into perpetuity. Wind power could meet the needs of all lower 48 states. Currently, Texas and California are the top producers of wind energy. This diagram shows the different parts of a wind turbine. Wind will turn the blades of a turbine. The turning blades cause the gearbox to rotate and power the generator. The generator then generates electricity and sends out electricity through a power cable. Wind turbines can also be found in offshore wind farms. In general, wind power is considered an indirect form of solar energy. Sunlight heats the atmosphere unevenly. Warm air rises while cool air sinks, generating wind currents. In Section 16.1, we'll look at energy efficiency and try to understand why energy efficiency is important. When energy is produced, net energy is very important. Net energy compares the energy expended versus the energy gained in harvesting and providing an energy resource. When energy is used, energy efficiency is more important. Energy efficiency compares the energy used by something versus the energy wasted by it. As we move towards a more sustainable future, we want to maximize energy efficiency and minimize energy waste. The benefits of reducing energy waste include making it cheaper to use electrical devices, reducing air pollution by power plants, slowing global warming by reducing carbon dioxide emissions, and increasing economic and national security by reducing dependence on foreign sources of energy. To help you understand the concept of energy efficiency, let me give you 4 examples of things that waste energy and are not energy efficient. Classic incandescent light bulbs can waste as much as 90% of the energy they use as heat rather than producing light. In comparison, the average LED light bulb only wastes about 10% of the energy it consumes. The typical motor vehicle wastes about 80% of the energy it uses. The average nuclear power plant wastes about 75%, and the average coal-fired power plant wastes about 65% of the fuel energy they use as lost heat. This diagram shows the flow of commercial energy through the U.S. economy. Fossil fuels dominate the commercial energy market. Only 16% of the energy we use ends up performing useful tasks. 41% of the energy is lost through the production and transport of energy, and 43% of energy is lost through energy inefficiency. This table summarizes the benefits of improving energy efficiency. Also known as combined heat and power, or CHP, cogeneration combines the production of heat and power and allows us to harvest 2 types of energy from the same fuel source. A cogeneration plant in Metz, France, for example, generates heat and power for 30,000 homes. The diagram on the left shows how cogeneration drastically reduces energy waste. We can replace energy-wasting electric motors for more modern, energy-efficient ones. We can recycle materials. Recycling metals like steel requires less energy than producing new metal from ore. Finally, we can switch from low-efficiency incandescent light bulbs to higher-efficiency fluorescent or LED lights. An electrical grid is an interconnected network for electricity delivery from producers to consumers. Three main electrical grids provide power to the United States, and they're called the Western Interconnection, the Eastern Interconnection, and the Texas Interconnection, which was created by that state to avoid federal regulation. Another way that we can save energy, and thus money, is by switching from outdated and wasteful electrical grid systems that we currently use to more efficient smart grids. Smart grids use digitally controlled, ultra-high voltage systems with super efficient transmission lines. Energy production could be increased, decreased, or shifted in response to local changes in supply and demand. Smart grids use decentralized, multiple power generation systems that are less prone to disruption. And finally, smart grids better integrate renewable energy sources. This diagram shows what a smart grid might look like. It's made up of a number of electricity-producing microgrids. The system can monitor itself and deal with any issues as they arise. We can also improve energy efficiency and save money in transportation. The price of gasoline doesn't include the cost of air pollution control and cleanup, the time wasted in traffic, and medical care from illnesses associated with air and water pollution. If it did, gas would cost closer to $12 per gallon. Gas prices are effectively kept low by government subsidies and tax breaks to oil companies, as well as the work of lobbyists who work to keep regulation and taxes on fuel low. We can also build or expand mass transit, including high-speed rail, and we can encourage more biking. This is a map of bike paths and bike lanes in San Francisco, which were developed to encourage biking and make it safer. This is a table of average gas prices per gallon around the world. All of these prices are lower than what it should be if we included all the hidden cost of gasoline use. Energy-efficient vehicles are already in production, with more on the way. Car companies are all moving towards producing more of these vehicles, including super efficient and ultra-light cars that get better and better mileage, gasoline-electric hybrid cars like the Toyota Prius, plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, abbreviated PHEV, like the Porsche Turbo S e-Hybrid, energy-efficient diesel cars like the Kia Ceed in Europe, and electric vehicles with a battery like Tesla's or hydrogen fuel cells like the Toyota Mirai. This diagram shows the difference between a conventional hybrid automobile and a plug-in hybrid one. In the plug-in hybrid, the fuel tank is reduced in size and the battery is enlarged. We can design our buildings in a way that reduces energy waste and saves money. Green architecture is a way of building that helps reduce the negative effects on climate and the environment, all through sustainable design, construction, and operation. Living or green roofs, like the one on the Academy of Sciences in Golden Gate Park, last longer and improve insulation. Super insulation uses much higher levels of insulation and air tightness in building, and can prevent the need for a heating system at all. Finally, the U.S. Green Building Council created the Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, or LEED certification, for healthy, efficient, carbon and cost-saving green buildings. LEED certified buildings are eligible for tax breaks and grants and can also charge their tenants higher rents because they keep heating and cooling costs low. This is a photo of a green roof in New York City. You can see a reflection of the Empire State Building in the window, whose energy costs were cut by 38% after a 2011 green retrofit. This diagram shows the different levels of LEED certification a building can receive based on the number of points it gets for creating healthy spaces that save money and resources. In existing buildings, we can perform energy audits to identify and address where energy is being lost and wasted. Solutions identified by an energy audit can include insulating and plugging leaks, using energy-efficient windows, heating and cooling houses more efficiently, using energy-efficient appliances and lighting, and using motion sensors to turn lights on and off. These are thermograms or infrared photos of heat loss in a house in Great Britain before and after an insulation project. The typical house in the United States is just as energy inefficient as the house was on the left. This diagram summarizes the ways in which we can save energy where we live. We already do a lot of these things, but there's always room for improvement. We still waste so much energy and money because energy remains artificially cheap through subsidies, tax breaks, and prices that don't include hidden costs. There also aren't enough incentives to reduce energy waste. Government rebates and low-interest loans to improve energy efficiency do exist, but they are few in number and limited in scope. Finally, there's just a lack of education about what we can do about energy waste. Renewable energy, like solar, is becoming more and more competitive with non-renewable energy sources. Renewable energy will be cheaper if we eliminate inequitable subsidies, inaccurate prices, and artificially low pricing of non-renewable energy. This graph shows the potential of renewable energy sources. Some of these sources can provide the energy that the world used in 2010 on their own, but if used in combination with one another, can easily meet the world's demand for energy today and into the future. In section 16.2, we'll look at the advantages and disadvantages of using solar energy. We can heat buildings and water with solar energy. There are two ways in which we can do this. The first is called passive solar heating. In a passive solar heating system, a building absorbs and stores heat from the sun directly within a well-insulated structure with windows directed towards the equator. Skylights can also be used to heat the building. In an active solar heating system, heat energy from the sun is captured by a heat-absorbing liquid, which is then pumped and circulated through a building. This table summarizes the advantages and disadvantages of passive and active solar heating systems. These systems are very green and only have moderate cost associated with them. The big disadvantage of these systems is that they must have access to sunlight that is not blocked by trees, other structures, or clouds. Buildings can be cooled naturally in a number of ways, including opening windows, using fans, installing super insulation and high-efficiency windows, incorporating overhangs or awnings on windows, having a light-colored roof, and using geothermal pumps. Electricity can be produced using sunlight using solar thermal systems. These systems use mirrors called heliostats to collect and direct sunlight in order to boil water in a central tower. Using these systems, 1% of the world's deserts could supply all the world's electricity needs. The drawback of these systems is that they require large amounts of water to cool the steam, which doesn't exist or is hard to come by in the desert. Solar thermal systems also have their drawbacks. These systems have low net energy yields. A lot of work and energy go into the production of electricity. These systems can cause habitat disruption, especially in deserts that don't recover quickly. These systems also need a backup for evenings or cloudy days. This table summarizes the pros and cons of solar thermal systems. You may have seen solar panels on the roof of a house or the top of a building. You may have solar panels on your own home. Solar panels are made up of photovoltaic or PV cells that convert solar energy directly into electrical energy. Sunlight hits the cells, which releases electrons into wires. Photovoltaic cells have a medium net energy yield. Energy produced by photovoltaic cells could get cheaper as the result of mass production, new designs, government subsidies, and tax breaks. Covering parking lots, such as this one, with solar cell arrays provides electricity and shade for cars. In this photo, a solar photovoltaic cell panel on the roof provides electricity for lighting this hut in rural West Bengal, India. This table summarizes the advantages and disadvantages of solar cells. They are easy to install and don't produce much carbon dioxide or air pollution, but they do need ample sunlight and some kind of storage system or backup.